This is a great question. Simple, it's clear, and very important. Do you trust the banks? So we have 59% of the US population said yes, we trust the banks. 28% do not, and 13% have no opinion.
Okay, that's higher than I thought it would be.
Okay, in terms of trust, do you think the trust
Yeah,
level is
I thought more people didn't trust the banks. So let's
okay?
see how it breaks down with genders and income and everything. Because I would assume, because previous studies I've seen showed that millennials and Zoomers, or millennials and Gen X, trust banks less than other generations. Or sorry, yeah, they trust them less, so they'd be more likely to not want to trust a bank.
Thanks. Interesting. Yeah, I'm a millennial, and I do not trust banks. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. We're on the same page. Look at
So that's
that.
100% of millennials don't trust banks.
In our own little two-person study. I think it's actually really interesting because it's not something that I've ever been asked and not something I've actually heard like a conversation about. But it is interesting to be like, no, like I don't trust banks, which is wild because like that is where my money sits.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Gender effects. We have men are more trusting of banks at 68%. Women are less trusting of banks and the reverse. And also more women also don't have an opinion about this, which women were more likely to have no opinion. I don't
Right.
particularly like that statistic, but apparently it's what it is. And like that's men at 9% and women at 18%. So that's like double, which is crazy. Yeah.
Well, it's just this question.
That's true. It's specifically
We'll let the women slide on this one. They're still up in my opinion.
okay, good. Yeah, we'll let them slide. Generation effects. So yeah, these are the generations, which is interesting. So we actually have that Gen X and millennials are more trusting, which is interesting.
Oh
Um,
yeah, okay.
yeah, and that was a significant result. So they are more trusting of than Boomers or Gen Z, which are more likely to say no. But then again, it is all within that a similar range, right? 45 to 65% of trust.
Yeah, that's we're gonna have some drama on Twitter when we post this one. Because so
Ooh,
far, from what I've been seeing, they say millennials and Gen X don't trust banks as much as boomers and well, I don't know about Gen Z. I just know millennials and Gen X.
yeah, well, but listen, like this question is also question 33 in this survey. And if you think about all the information that boomers were just exposed to versus just a flat out question, like
Yeah, so the boomers are more effectively swayed to now not trust the banks as much.
yeah, like they're shook. Like their entire mental framework about the financial system was honestly just torn apart.
That's true. I
Right
wonder
now,
if we've changed. Did we change some lives with this survey or what?
oh my God, we changed like 800 lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this. Oh my gosh. And I gotta say, wait, actually, this is a side note. Well, this is kind of personal, but I sent this survey to my family, right? When I was testing it out, I was like, hey, like just this is super educational. Have a look. And my sister, my younger sister, who is a Gen Z, she was like, can we please have a family dinner and just talk about like what the US dollar is backed by? I don't get it.
That's awesome.
It's like we were changing lives. So yeah, it was
Right.
super, super good. Okay, and then socioeconomic status effects. This is so cool. 93% of the wealthy trust banks. That's
Wow.
enormous versus like 50% of the rest of the population. So 93% said yes, 7% said no, and again, very much in the wealthy people style, none of them had no opinion. They all had an opinion.
Okay. They all had an opinion. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, and that was
So we're seeing here that the wealthy trust the banks the most by a significant margin,
yeah,
and the low income are the least likely to trust banks.
yeah.
And middle class is pretty high up there in the trust, 60%. But the poverty is in the middle. It's so definitely the poverty kind of lines up with earlier I forget which question it was now, but it kind of like the logic behind somebody that's in poverty.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it was Bitcoin. One of the it was a Bitcoin related question. How maybe it was the likelihood to
Right.
invest. It was, yeah, they were more
Yeah.
likely.
What would you choose? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're more trusting of banks than the low income people. So people in poverty are probably just not even. It's not even in their frame of mind to question whether I should trust the bank or not, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well.
But the low income people are thinking about it a bit more. It seems they trust them the least.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Shocking data to me. That's shocking to me. I would assume it would be a lot more people don't trust the banks. I was hoping to see like 100% of people don't trust the banks.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we can even, try wording it a little bit differently, even in the future, or like a level of trust versus just a yes or no question.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Like, how much do you trust banks?
Exactly. Yeah. Or what statement, like, do you, most agree with? Like, I trust banks completely, I bank with banks, but have many doubts, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense.
Okay, cool. So then question 34, this is the second last question. We're almost there until we get to some really cool insights. If Bitcoin succeeds as the electronic money of the internet, do you think it could ever increase in price 50x to be worth the same amount as gold, which is 8 trillion? So can it ever 50x? And by the end of the survey, 55% of people believe Bitcoin could become worth as much as gold is. We do have 30% doubt. And what is interesting, we have 9% of people that say it'll be worth more. So you really have excited people, and I'll break down who those people are momentarily.
So it's 9% was the same number as people who thought the Federal Reserve or the U.S. dollar was backed by gold. Was that what it was?
U.S. dollar backed by gold. Oh, that was like a way back though, right?
A way back, yeah. We had a question where 9% of people answered something, and I'm trying to relate that. So 9% of people think that Bitcoin is going to be worth more than gold, and also 9% of people answered a dumb question wrong earlier, whatever. I can't remember.
We can go back and we can find it. But yeah, so we're about in like the 65% range of people that think Bitcoin is going to be worth in the trillions. In terms of gender effects, men said 63%. Yeah, that's plausible.
Well, I mean, this makes sense because the previous question, a lot of people thought it was worth trillions already.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And this might be the question that changed their mind the most, because if most people thought that it was already worth trillions and they weren't interested in it, and then they learn that it's actually not worth trillions, and they're answering, oh yeah, I think it could be worth trillions. Yeah. That's probably where they've changed their mind the most and thinking, oh, maybe I should get some because it's not as valuable as I thought it was.
Exactly. And look how large the other investments are in terms of, right? They are in the trillions. So, what's stopping Bitcoin from getting there? I don't know. Do you have actually an answer for that? You as an expert on the topic, right? Do you think Bitcoin can become worth 8 trillion?
I do. I definitely do. I think in the next 10 years, we could see Bitcoin succeed as a global reserve currency competitor to the US dollars even. I think like $1 million per Bitcoin is not impossible. I don't think it's like definitely going to happen or anything like that, but I can see $1 million Bitcoin within 10 years, and that would be about a $20 trillion market cap. So it would make it a few times like bigger than gold. But yeah, to get to gold, it would be, what would you need to do? Gold 50x, I guess we said there. Yeah, so it'd be about a 50x. And I definitely think I could do that.
Do you think that...
I'm one of those 9%. I think it'll be worth more.
Wow. So do you think, though, that there might be a competitor to Bitcoin that will be invented over the next few years, and a direct competitor of the Bitcoin system, like just created in a different way?
No, I don't think so. I think there will be other competitors like Facebook Libra, which is a stable coin, kind of a cryptocurrency, and Facebook has billions of users. So that will definitely get more usage as money. I think there's a chance that there's another cryptocurrency could get more usage as money, but those cryptocurrencies are designed to kind of stabilize and hold stable value, because to have a money, it needs to have it needs to be able to be a medium of exchange, which requires it to have a stable value, because for you to denominate things in it, you need to be able to have a stable value to know, okay, well, bread today is 200 or 2,000 satoshis, but tomorrow it's 3,000 satoshis. I mean, that's kind of hard for people to get.
Yeah.
So one of the properties of something becoming money is for it to be stable value. But Bitcoin is very volatile, since it's more like a commodity right now. It behaves like a commodity. And because it can go up 50x, it's going to be hard for people to want to spend their Bitcoin when they have it, because they know that its potential to go up in price is pretty likely.
Yeah.
So there's this economic law called Gresham's law, which says that good or bad money drives out good, which is kind of counterintuitive to think, but it just means that if there's a money that people know is gonna deflate and be worth less over time, they're gonna use that as the money that they do daily transactions in, versus gold or something like that, which they're gonna save. So Bitcoin, to be used as a money, it's going to be volatile for a long time, until it gets to the level of something like gold, where then it will have a stable value, and then it could be used as money. So I think that there could be another thing like Facebook's Libra, or some other stable coin like a digital dollar or something like that, that could get more usage than Bitcoin, but it's not going to be an investment. It's going to be pegged to the US dollar or some basket of currencies. So I think that's going to be good for Bitcoin, because when people learn about this and say, well, I'm using a digital currency, and they'll start Googling it, looking into see about Bitcoin, and they're like, oh, this one goes up, I'm going to get this one too. And they're going to kind of like start investing in Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin. That's the way I think it will shake out. And as far as another competitor in the store of value digital gold world, like another one that will be worth more than Bitcoin, I think the chances of that are about the same as the chances of quantum computing destroying Bitcoin. So it's very small, very minimal chance. It's possible that there could be another cryptocurrency that is created that becomes more successful than Bitcoin, but it's such a low chance that I don't think the average person should get any of the other cryptocurrencies. I think if you just get exposure to Bitcoin, it's definitely the most likely one to go up and can challenge gold as the digital reserve currency. And the reason is because Bitcoin, like I said earlier, it's hardened. It's had battles fought over it, and it survived for 10 years. It has the Lindy effect. Like if you look at the Google search results, nobody's searching for the other cryptocurrencies. They're only searching for Bitcoin. And the longer something retains that first of mind, like when you think of cryptocurrency, you think of Bitcoin. That's the Lindy effect. The longer it has the Lindy effect, then the more likely it's just going to keep winning. And it's also more fair if you look at the Gini coefficient of Bitcoin, which is the wealth distribution.
Yeah.
The US dollar is more fairly distributed than Bitcoin is. So, cryptocurrencies, because they had like people were mining them early, and a lot of like wealthy investors had bought Bitcoin, and now they're worth more. So the spread of the amount of people that own the share of Bitcoins, it's not as fairly distributed, because the wealthy people are more likely going to want to invest in it. But interestingly, every year the Gini coefficient gets better, and the wealth distribution gets spread out more. So more people are buying Bitcoin as more economic classes are being exposed to Bitcoin, and more generations are getting into Bitcoin. It is getting more fair, and so the Bitcoin Gini coefficient gets better. Most of the other cryptocurrencies that exist right now, the Gini coefficient's getting worse year over year. So wealth is concentrating more to the top of both other cryptocurrencies and the US dollar and fiat currencies. So every year, the Gini coefficient of money gets worse, except for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is getting better.
Honestly, that's super cool. Yeah, powerful. Gini coefficient and the Lindy effect. Listen, it's good.